Hello everyone, I'm Kanav Gupta, an undergrad at IIT Roorkee,
And I'm Shambhavi Jha, an undergrad at IIT Roorkee.
and we welcome you to this very special podcast at Monarchy, the Reign of Diplomacy. Today we have the privilege of diving deep into the incredible journey of someone who has dedicated his life serving our nation with immense and unparalleled courage and dedication. He's a man of wisdom, resilience, and immense leadership. Our guest today is none other than Major General Pankaj Kaushik, a veteran of the Indian Army with an awe inspiring 38 years of service. From braving the icy terrains of Siachen to representing India at the United Nations. His life has been nothing short but extraordinary. But today, we are here to uncover not just the officer, but also the human behind the uniform. So sit back, relax, and join us for a conversation that promises to inspire, motivate, and give you a glimpse into a life lived with purpose. So without further ado, let's welcome Major General Pankaj Kaushik. Welcome, sir. It's an absolute honor to have you here with us today.
Thank you, Kanav and Shamvi. I am also equally elated to be with you all this evening, and it's a matter of great pride and privilege for me to be here in IIT Roorkee, which is one of the most prestigious institutions not only in our country but in the world over.
An honor for us, sir, for sure. So, before we dive deep into your incredible journey, let's just start with something light. So, you have had experience in life some of the most challenging situations. Now, how does it feel coming back into a civilian pace of life now?
Well, I was a civilian before I joined uniformed services. 18 years of my initial life I spent in civil streets. So coming back to the civil street does not require too much of an adjustment. And in any case, when we come on leave or otherwise, we keep interacting with the civilians throughout our lives. And in any case, army fights for civilians only. So there is no problem in adjusting again to the civil street. And it feels nice because now I am getting connected with my classmates and friends with whom I had lost contact for last 4 decades, and now I am reconnecting with them. So it's a really wonderful feeling to be back.
That was great, sir. So, uncovering your personal life, I would like you to share a bit about your childhood, your early life, and your family.
Well, I had a very modest childhood. uh, my education started from a village school where I used to go. uh, we used to use taktis and kalams, which you would have only seen in maybe movies,
Yes, sir.
but you may not have used. So my early education started from a village school. Then we came to Meerut, where I did my initial primary and secondary schooling in a junior high school. And then for my 10th and 12th, I got admission into Government Inter College in Meerut, and I did my 10th and 12th from there. And for graduation, I moved to Meerut College, Meerut, and I did my BCom from there and the LLB from there.
So, sir, was there any one important person, like in your family, or any memorable experience that you would like to share with us, which shaped you the person you are today?
Uh, I mean, not only one, there are many, but specifically, I would like to mention about uh, three people. One is my parents, who shaped my childhood and the formative years, and which ultimately contributed in creating a good destiny for me. And in my school, I had a teacher of mine. His name was Mr. Shivram Verma. He was physically challenged. He had polio in his childhood, so he used to walk on crutches. And but he was a real role model. Apart from imparting instructions, he helped us in developing our character qualities in a very big manner. I remember he used to smoke, but then we never saw him smoking. Uh, he used to go to a restaurant or a chai shop. There he used to have uh, smokes. But then whenever he used to see any child or student coming, he used to throw away the cigarettes. So that was the kind of a role model that he presented, that he always wanted to be very correct in his approach. He was very disciplined and very simple, down to earth person, but he was so good in his subjects, and he could take multiple subjects like maths, geography, English, science. So he was an all rounder kind of a person. So he was one person who had a very distinct impression on me. And the second one was my uh, tutor when I was doing my graduation. He used to teach us accountancy. Uh, his name was he is Mr. SP Tyagi, and he was not a teacher by profession. He was a science graduate, but he financially he had some issues, so he had a business. He ran into a lot of losses. In order to offset those things and in order to earn his living, he did a degree course in cost accountancy, and then he used to take tuitions in that subject, which was not his primary core competency. But he was such a good uh, tutor and teacher. When he used to teach in Dayalbag University, in a college in Dayalbag in Agra, he was mentioning to me that he never gave tuitions to the students of his class. And if somebody approached for tuitions, he used to ask that student to call his parents, and he used to ask them that if he is asking for tuitions, that means either there is something wrong with me or there is something wrong with him. If there is something wrong with me, then please tell me, I will rectify it. And if there is something wrong in your child, please work at home and make sure that that thing does not happen. So he never gave tuitions to the students of his class. And he said, if a student of my class requires a tuition, that means I am not doing my job properly.
Right.
So these were the kind of people with whom one got associated with, and I think they had a very profound impact in my overall development as a child and as a person.
So you mentioned like you had done BCom and LLB. So after all these educational degrees, then how was the journey then into the armed forces?
My dad was an advocate, and he wanted me to join his profession. So when he told me that, son, I have a good practice and I want you to join my profession. Like an obedient child, I also agreed. I said, okay. And that was, I think, I was in class 10th or something. So that's the time I started getting oriented towards that profession. But however, when I went into class 11th, 12th, I joined National Cadet Corps, NCC, and that is where I started to change my orientation. I started developing a fascination for armed forces, and that was the time when India had fought three wars in a very quick succession, and that euphoria of war and attraction towards armed forces was at its peak. And I also saw some Hindi war movies which were made in that time. One such movie was made by Mr. Chetan Anand. It is known as Hakikat. It's a black and white movie, and it was made in the backdrop of Chinese India China War of 1962. So, and that movie depicted the real challenges of army life. It was not as glorious as it is made out to be in serials and movies today, and that showed how challenging and how sacrificial is this job in case if one has to serve the country. And I think watching that movie initiated that spark in me, which did not get extinguished till date.
Right.
So that is something which enabled me to join armed forces.
So in a conversation earlier, you mentioned that you had joined, you even got selected for the bank as a job in the bank. So if you could like have a talk or tell us about then how from bank then you went to the armed forces.
Uh, In those times, even today, getting a good job is a very big challenge. And I was a student like you people are today. About 4 decades back, I was doing my graduation, and by the time I finished my graduation, I was only 18 and a half, because in our times, the graduation used to be only for 2 years.
Okay.
So third year was not there, and uh, maybe I got enrolled slightly early into the schools. So uh, I was not eligible for many competitions which were all India level, like Indian Administrative Services and things of that sort. So whatever I was eligible for, I applied for, because my dad said, "Okay, you can keep trying. Getting a good job is not easy. At least you will get prepared for interviews, and you will get prepared for written exams. You will be remaining in touch with general awareness and other subjects." So I appeared for the bank exam. Fortunately, I got through in the written exam, and then I got through in the interview as well. So my dad told me that, son, it's not easy to get a good job, that too in a bank. So I suggest you join this. I was not inclined, but then the only motivation for me was that they were giving me a posting to a very good hill station known as Nainital. So I said, yeah, if nothing else, I will go and enjoy in a good hill station, stay for whatever time, and then I'll continue to pursue my aim of joining army. So I joined the bank, and thereafter, side by side, I continued my studies for law as well as for combined defense services examination. Fortunately, I got through in all, and then I resigned from the bank and joined Indian Army.
Absolutely inspiring, sir. Like, even after qualifying all these exams, you still had this dedication to serve for the nation. Sir, along with that, you even represented the nation, India, at the United Nations. So, what was that journey about, or what was that experience like?
Uh, I had gone as part of the United Nations peacekeeping mission in Ethiopia and Eritrea. That was in the year 2000. And there was a war which had erupted between Ethiopia and Eritrea. Eritrea was one of the breakaway provinces of Ethiopia. So, in order to make sure that the peace prevails, United Nations had decided to send a mission, peacekeeping mission there, in which they had separated both the warring armies and armed forces of both the nations by a distance of 20 kilometers, and that zone was known as the temporary security zone. So we had to monitor the temporary security zone, make sure that no side intrudes into this zone and gets engaged in combat activities with the other side. So there were uh, challenges in doing so, because uh, both the countries were having a lot of heated tempers, and making sure that there is no violation of the agreement was quite a challenging job. And many a times we had to get into negotiations with Ethiopian government as also with the Eritrean government, their top military echelons, to maintain peace and tranquility. So that was quite educative and challenging assignment.
So that's on what my next question is. You had a lot of negotiations. You would have interacted with a lot of top officials and Democrats from all across the world. And you said that it was educative. So, what were some of the major learnings or takeaways from those interactions?
See, that tenure enabled me to interact with the nationals of about 65 countries. And from my point of view, at that point of time, I realized that those people are quite skilled, not only in terms of their studies, but they believe in a concept of multi skilling, which I found in our country at that point of time was not as prevalent as it is today. Even today, in our offices or in our workstations, uh, I am working, let's say, in my workstation, and there is a small electrical fault. I will ring up somebody in the housekeeping or some other place and call for an electrician. Whereas in their case, they have something known as a combination tool which they carry, and they'll try and fix the things themselves first before going for the help. at the first juncture. So that is one thing which I feel that in terms of skilling levels, we need to upgrade our multi skills, qualities. Apart from that, the sense of timing, uh, especially the people from the Western countries and the American continent, they are so particular about the usage of time, productive use of time, and they don't want any time to be wasted whatsoever. I still remember, there was an incident that we had to send a report to the UN headquarters every day at 1600 hours. And in my assignment, I was collecting reports from all over, and one team had not yet sent the report. It was 5 minutes to 4, and they were saying that they'll send it in within about 2 minutes time. So I said, okay, I will include their inputs also, and then send the report in time by 1600 hours. But I had a boss who was a Norwegian, so he said, why are we not sending the report? I said, we still have 5 minutes to go, and I'm just waiting for input from one team. The moment it comes, I'll send it. He said, no, but this report has to be there on the table in the UN headquarters at 1600 hours. So we must send it in time and not delay. And rather than doing that, we must say, okay, the inputs from the last team will be sent as and when received. So that's the time I realized that how particular they are about punctuality, and I think that is one of the main differences between us and them as to how to value the time. The second thing is that they value their work so much that despite their uh, very senior ranks and assignments, they don't mind working shoulder to shoulder with the people who are at the lowest end of the spectrum. I remember the chief engineer of that UN mission. He was from New Zealand, and we were posted in a place known as Assam, which is the second hottest place in the world. And I saw this gentleman working in only in his shorts, no vest and no t-shirt, at 2:30 in the afternoon. He was to fix some satellite dish for the communications. This guy, along with one more guy, chief engineer, and one more guy, working at 2:30 in the afternoon, and they continue to work till 4:30 in that scorching heat, without worrying as to what is his pay grade, what is his seniority. But he had come with the mission that I have to finish this today. So whereas in our parlance, somebody that senior will not even get down from the car and get into this kind of an activity.
So that's the problem we are facing. Would you like to give a solution or any advices so that we can improve upon it?
Or rather like with an example maybe, that how like these examples like you told about, which made you like, which given you way of looking at things, or some new practices which is being not followed in our country. So if there are examples you could give wherein like some changes you made in your team, or the staff or the people under you, if some changes, if we can have like an examples of how you implemented those in our country as well.
See, when I learned these things there, it automatically got imbibed in me, and whatever jobs I did, or whatever tasks came up to be, I made sure that firstly we stick to the timelines. If we cannot stick to the timelines, then well before the termination of timelines, I used to go back to my boss that this cannot be done. Why this cannot be done, along with the reasons, with the justification, and what is the expected time extension that you require. Based upon the overall thing, he will, in most of the cases, the request was agreed upon. If it was not agreed upon, then depending upon whatever could be done in the best possible manner, we did that, and gave it back to the boss. But uh, you know not getting back and not giving the feedback in time, that again is counterproductive. And apart from this, in case if you do certain things, even if they are not perfect, see, nobody can get perfection, but doing the work in time is extremely important, rather than doing a very good work but then which is beyond time, then it loses its value. And apart from this, I also inculcated a habit in me of being an enabler, in the sense that when a job is given to you, one has to examine as to how it cannot be done, how it can be done, rather than saying that's to why it cannot be done. And you know, most of us have this tendency that when any assignment is given to us, the first reaction is sorry, it cannot be done. So I always feel, and I always used to tell my subordinates also, that let's be enabler. Let's find out ways and means, even if it is a challenging job. There are still some ways and means. And there is a very famous saying in English: I shall find a way or create one. So if there is no way, try and create one, and then do the job, rather than just saying that sorry, I'll not be able to handle it.
So the most important thing is like developing that tough and positive mindset
Yes.
that we can find out a way and find out a approach. Okay.
You served in the most some of the most difficult challenges, let's like in the heights of Siachen, or in Operation Vijay, there's the Kargil war, Operation Parakram, or even let's say the counterinsurgencies in JNK and the northeast regions. So could you share some of the challenges you faced during your time there, and something which had a long lasting impact on you, which changed in a way the person you are, or which made you the person you are today?
See, serving in different areas has different sets of challenges. Like when I was in Glacier, the challenges were different from what I faced challenges in the counterinsurgency operations. So, in a glacier, one was at an altitude of 19,000 feet, uh, lack of oxygen, uh, you know, the efficiency of the body goes down by three-fourth. Then you have very inclement weather, uh, serving in those areas with minus 40, minus 45 degrees temperature. So those set of challenges is entirely different. Firstly, we had to win against the weather, and secondly, we had to win against the Pakistanis who were facing us across. And there the main challenges were isolation, because in those icy heights, not even a bird, will be there. And then another challenge was that in those times, the operation had just begun. Siachen Glacier was occupied in 1984. I went there in 1987. So the infrastructure was just in the process of getting established. So there was inadequate infrastructure, so living conditions were very tough. We were 10, 12 people staying in one tent with all our weapons, ammunition, beddings, sleeping, cooking, rations, everything in that tent. And there was no electricity, so we used to use a wick in a bottle, and use kerosene and then use that kind of light. So though the clothing, though that was the best available at that point of time, but then still not as good as it is available today. The inaccessibility of the post, each post, the post where I was, it used to involve 7 days of walking. The nearest helipad was 3 days away. So if somebody falls sick uh, in a serious manner, then there is no way that you can evacuate him, because 3 days he has to walk. So these were the challenges in a glacier environment. Whereas in counterinsurgency operations, the enemy is not well defined. I was, like in conventional operations in Nav Vijay or Parakram or in Glacier, we knew that which direction is the enemy, facing us from. But in counterinsurgency operations, there is no such demarcation. There is no difference in uniform. They can be in a group of civilians. They can fire at us and again mingle with the civilians, throw up their weapon and mingle with the civilians. Apart from that, the sustained stress and strain that gets generated in counterinsurgency operations is incomparable. And these operations are very time consuming. You do 10 operations, maybe one or two will be successful, 8 will be without results. So that at times creates a lot of frustration also in the minds of the people. uh, so you know these are the kind of challenges which one faces in counterinsurgency operations. In Operation Vijay and Operation Parakram, the set of challenges were different. So I mean, these things, once you face, one keeps evolving as a person and keeps improving as a person over a period of time. So as they say, Rome was not built in a day. So these things also take time to get evolved.
So, sir, as you said, you faced a unique set of challenges in each of your missions, in each of the operations. Also, you would have worked with different people in all the missions. So, how did you make sure that you foster a sense of teamwork and collaboration in your team as a leader?
See, the real acme of leadership lies in carrying your team together. And for that, the best solution is not to have a templated approach. Each individual is different, and that can happen, once you understand the strengths and weaknesses of your team members. You have to complement the strengths, or rather you have to complement their weaknesses, and you have to play up on the strengths. So when you task a person as per the strengths. And tasking the right person for the right job, that's very important. Now, to a same situation, the reaction of a person from, let's say, state like Punjab will be different vis-a-vis the person from, let's say, Tamil Nadu. Their emotional quotients, their emotional feelings and reactions are entirely different. You use a strong word to a person from North Indian state, it doesn't matter much. But you use a strong word to somebody who's from, let's say, Kerala, heavens will come loose. So that is how it is. You have to understand the psyche and the reactions of each individual. The moment you do that, and you are able to understand their strengths and weaknesses. And another thing is that you have to understand and honor people's sensitivities. Some people are sensitive to a particular issue, or a particular subject, or they want to handle things in a one particular manner. So we must honor their customs and traditions, rather than trying to impose ourselves or trying to make a mockery of those things. The moment that thing happens, you have a environment which is very conducive, and then those people are ready to work for you and give out their best. As a team leader, what you have to do is to create a very conducive environment. I think the moment that happens, uh, most of the problems get sorted out then and there. You should be accessible, you should be a good listener. There is a difference between hearing and listening. So the moment you listen to somebody, half of the problems get resolved there only. But most of the time we are so time critical, or we are so busy, or in certain amount of professional arrogance, we are not able to give time to the person who has come with some kind of a problem. So then if he doesn't get the due, then obviously he starts feeling bad, and those things start festering over a period of time, and then they manifest in something which is more explosive, and detrimental.
Like talking about the Siachen glaciers and the operations there, you mentioned like about 15 people, 10 to 15 people inside a single tent, and the harsh conditions with like 3 days to walk to just get to a helipad. I mean, these are just some scenarios. Even like imagining gets us goosebumps. Like these are some harsh realities of military, or when you serve for the nation. But generally, like people view the military as a discipline, of course, but even as an adventurous career, like influenced heavily by the movies. So how would you have like see this as, or how would you like your views on this thing?
Oh, see, one thing one must understand, the picturization in movies and serials has to cater for a larger audience. If they start showing what actually happens, I think very few people will.
Right.
So it has to cater for everybody's taste. But one must understand, armed forces is a fascinating career, and it's not a job. I always feel it's a way of life. uh, uh, if I compare myself, when I joined these forces 40 years back vis-a-vis what I'm today, I think the kind of grooming that I have got, the kind of grooming and nurturing that my children have got, I think that sets us apart from the rest of the society. So that way, it is very very gratifying, very satisfying, and it contributes to your overall improvement. But having said all this, army or armed forces is also not a bed of roses.
Hmm.
It has its own challenges. It has a tremendous amount of strain and strain. It requires a lot of sacrifices to be made by the soldiers and their families, not only by the soldiers but their families also, because you have prolonged separations. I remember my children did one class from three different stations, because I got, you know, three postings in a year. And so they started from Jammu, and then they came somewhere in Pathankot, and finally ended up in a place like Meerut. So the same class they did from three different stations.
Hmm.
So these are the sets of challenges which we have to face. It creates a lot of adaptability in our children and in ourselves, that be whatever be the conditions, we are able to adjust and move along. Like when my son was in class 12th and my daughter was in class 10th. My son was in 12th and daughter was in 10th. That's the time I got a posting order. So I told my children, you are in Delhi, you stay here. They said, no, 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 we'll come along. So everybody was telling me that you people are ridiculous, that you are moving your children at such a crucial stage. But then they moved, and they got good marks. They came out with flying colors. So that adaptability factor is very high.
In the, like, if I just compare the battlefield with the movies as it is shown in movies, like a good example would be the movie Lakshya, which has which is upon the Kargil war.
Yeah.
And like you actually serving the nation in the Kargil war and seeing it firsthand. So what actually was that warfield or the battlefield like?
Uh, See, Lakshya is a very good movie. Hrithik Roshan
Right.
has played the lead role in that, and that's the favorite movie of my son, who is also joined my unit. He's a
Okay.
second generation officer in my unit, and uh, see, in these movies, uh, they show the things in a slightly hyperactive style. They have to dramatize certain things because that movie has to have due audience. So the actual battlefield is not as glamorous and that attractive, and there are people who are very tough, very enduring, but then they are normal human beings, and sometimes superhuman works are being shown in the movies, which actually is very hyperbolic. But at the same time, there are people who have done a lot of heroics, and which are beyond the realms of a normal human being. uh, but there is no phantom like character, or who can achieve everything, and then so that's one. Second is the kind of hardships and limitations which are there in fighting a war, and the kind of pain and agony which one goes through when your colleagues are falling, and somebody is getting injured, and you are not able to evacuate because you have to go to the objective to capture the objective, and thereafter you take stock of the situation. These are very, very challenging moments. But then you get carried away by the objective or the aim that you have to achieve, and these kind of activities, they cannot distract you from your main aim. And once you achieve the objective, thereafter we go around, see who is alive, who is not gone, and who needs to be evacuated, and things of that sort. Indian Army has got that ethos, that we never leave our soldiers on the battlefield if they are dead. In Kargil operations, there were occasions when Pakistanis were not allowing us to pick up the mortal remains, and whenever people used to go to pick up the mortal remains, they used to fire. So we had to continue those operations for more than 15-20 days, just to get those mortal remains back and hand over to the families with due honor and respect. So these are the things which set us apart, and these are the things which normally in the movies cannot be depicted the way they actually happen on ground.
Yes, sir. So before ending the podcast, I have a question, and on a very serious note, like during the you talked about you checked the soldiers were alive or they were dead. So I think that was the biggest emotional challenge for you people. Like in the Kargil war, we lost around 500 plus soldiers, 527 soldiers, I guess. So how did the team deal with these losses? like you lost your colleagues and you have to go on with the mission. How did you deal with this?
See, these are very, very challenging moments, and at times emotions runs very high, because after all, a soldier is also a human being. It's not a robot. So, but then we are trained to control our aggression, the control our emotions, and so focused on our aim. When I talk to you on leadership qualities, one point is selection and maintenance of aim. So if you have decided upon an aim, so you have to always keep it in mind, and then you have to maintain that, and then you have to go all out to do that, and thereafter you look back and see what needs to be done and what went wrong and how we can improve upon it. So that is what is the training that our troops, our officers, we go through in our initial formative years, and then it keeps on getting refreshed whenever we go for training capsules here and there.
Okay. So, coming to the end, that was a really incredible conversation with you. We got to learn so much. We got to learn about your experiences, your insights. And on behalf of everyone listening, I would like to thank you. It was an absolute honor to have you us here. Also, before ending it, do you have any 2 3 liner advice you would like to give to the listeners?
The youth or
Yeah,
for
the
the
youth.
students listening to
Yeah,
this
specifically
podcast.
for the students.
Okay, I would like to say only one thing, a short message. I give this message wherever I go, whomsoever I meet, and even if 1 or 2% of people carry that message, I think I have achieved my aim. And there is a very famous caption, the saying on the internet: "Bloom where planted." And what it means is that you take a sapling, you plant it somewhere, irrespective of the quality of soil, irrespective of the climatic conditions, good, bad, ugly. What it tries to do, it tries to grow. And similarly, in our lives, personal life, professional life, we are assigned certain roles. Uh, Many a times, those roles may not be to our liking. That job may not be to our liking. But then, if you are assigned a job, just do it to the best of your ability and in the best possible manner. That is the first message I would like to give. Second message I would like to give is, uh, always look at the larger picture, in the sense that uh, many a times in your personal life and professional life, there will be occasions when your personal interests may be at conflict with the organizational interest or your family interest. Uh, so whenever there is such a conflict, and that conflict is not impinging upon any of the core values of the ethos that you are following, I think you should go in for the organizational interest or the family interest, rather than just looking after our self interests. So these two things I would like the young generation to carry forward. And I always have this caption whenever I have in my office desk, wherever I had bloom where planted. And seeing that many other officers in the Indian Army have started following that caption, and this caption is enshrined in my unit. This is the motto of my unit: bloom where planted. And I think all of us believe in that philosophy in my unit, and it is doing so well. And this year, on the Army Day, on 15th of January, my unit has been awarded the Chief of Army Staff citation, which is given to a unit which is a top class unit in the Indian Army. And this is the second such citation that we have got in last 35 years.
That's so amazing to know, sir. And it's really been a big honor for us to have you here at Monarchy IIT Roorkee. And genuinely, sir, we have goosebumps all over my body, and I'm shaken, sir, by the descriptions of the Kargil war and everything. And really, a great honor to have you, sir, here.
Thank you so much. I also enjoyed talking to you, and it is a unique opportunity for me to get connected with the younger generation and share my thoughts and experiences. And in the bargain, I have so much to learn from you people also. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Jain, sir. Thank you, sir.